What is up, guys? So this is going to be my review for Arrow Season 6, Episode 7, titled Thanksgiving. Green Arrow is finally back, which is really refreshing. Season 6 has honestly been pretty boring without Oliver as the Green Arrow, with Diggle as the Green Arrow instead. Diggle as Green Arrow was just boring in general, so it's really good to see him back. In this episode, though, for most of it, Diggle was the Green Arrow, which, again, it was really boring. But the fact that they actually addressed this in this episode, that Diggle as the Green Arrow, makes no sense. Oliver had a whole argument with him. That was a great scene, saying that he's really disappointed in Diggle, and that if Diggle was being really selfish, honestly, Diggle going out with the Tremor, not telling Oliver, he was doing that because he really wanted to be the Green Arrow, and that was really selfish of him, and I like the fact that they addressed that. But in the very next scene, or the next time Oliver and Diggle talk, they completely gloss over that. They had this whole argument. They both made really good points. Oliver made much better points. And then Oliver comes in and they both apologize to each other. It didn't really make that much sense. They had this whole argument, and then they just apologize. It makes sense in real life, but really that argument was really important because Diggle is compromised. Diggle can't go out on the field, and he only wants to go out on the field because he really wants to be the Green Arrow, but he can't. And Oliver knows that, so I don't understand why Oliver still wants him to be the Green Arrow. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So in my last episode review, I said that it was annoying that Curtis can basically fix any injury, that nobody on Team Arrow has to deal with any consequences of injury, or basically injury in general, and that they could just be cured by Curtis. But this episode actually addressed that. They addressed that Curtis can't fix everyone. He fixed Felicity's spine, but that doesn't mean he could fix the tremor in Diggle's hand. He actually made it worse, and that's actually pretty interesting. The fact that Curtis couldn't fix him just makes it a lot better. It was really annoying that nobody has to deal with injuries on Team Arrow or the consequences of injuries, and it looks like Diggle still has to. This episode dealt with Oliver Queen being arrested for being the Green Arrow again, which has gotten so old at this point. It's got to be the 4th time he's been arrested for being a vigilante, and it's just, at this point, it's unoriginal and overdone. I don't know why the writers keep on putting it in the show. This is the 2nd time this year, and then there's one in Season 3, one in Season 1. I don't know why they keep on doing it. It's not something we want to see anymore, at least according to me and all of the comments I see on the promo for this episode and the promo for episode 2. Nobody really wanted to see Oliver being arrested again because we've seen it so many times, alright? Just no need to do it anymore. But you know what? Even though it was unoriginal and overdone, I feel like they didn't focus on it too much in this episode because, I mean, it was one of the focal points of the episode, but I feel like they didn't focus on it too much, that it got out of hand, so it wasn't terrible. It wasn't that bad, but I just feel like you don't need to do this ever again. Cayden, James, and Black Siren are back. The last time we saw them was in episode 4, which wasn't that great, but I feel like they both were a lot better in this episode. They weren't bad villains in episode 8. They were just not the greatest, just because Cayden James is a hacker. Cayden James is a hacker, and that makes Felicity the focal point of the episode, and I really don't want to see that. In this episode, she definitely was not, and Cayden James was still the main villain, and I thought he was actually a pretty good main villain. We find out in this episode that Cayden James is doing what he's doing. He's terrorizing Star City because he wants to take revenge on the Green Arrow for killing his son. Well, he said he took away his son, but he implied he killed him. So it might be, I don't know who the son is, but it might be that this Cayden James' son is somebody Oliver killed in the past. Maybe as the Hood, maybe as the Green Arrow, maybe as the Arrow. He killed him in the past, and now Cayden James wants to take revenge. I feel like that would be way too similar to Prometheus, where Oliver in the past killed the guy's relative, and then the guy's taking revenge. That would be way too similar to Prometheus, and I really don't want them to do that again. It worked for Prometheus. It was really good for him, but they already did that last season. And if Cayden James is one of the main villains, then just don't do that. So it might be somebody we've seen before. Maybe Oliver or the Hood or the Arrow or the Green Arrow actually killed somebody, Cayden James' son, that we actually saw him kill him, which would be really cool, but still a little bit too similar to Prometheus. Only difference being is we actually saw Cayden James' son being killed on the show, whereas we didn't see Prometheus' father being killed, only in flashback in Season 5. But who is Cayden James' son? It might be one of the previous main villains. The only one it could possibly be is Prometheus, actually, because the other 4 are way too old for that, especially Ra's al Ghul and Deathstroke. and Malcolm Merlin, they're all way too old. Damien Dark's way too old. Prometheus is like 30 years old. So Cayden James actually he could be his father. But I doubt it because we figured out that Team Arrow figured out that Justin Claiborne is his father. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe that was on purpose. Prometheus changed that so they wouldn't figure out that Cayden James is his father. I don't know. That's all I could say right now. It literally could be anybody that Oliver Queen has killed that is at least 20 years younger than Cayden James, which is a lot of people because Cayden James is like, what, 50? Michael Emerson is actually around 6 years old, so if Cayden James is the same age as him, then really he could be anybody. He can honestly be anybody that Oliver has killed that's under the age of 40. So really, that doesn't narrow it down. So I can't theorize or guess who it is. We'll just have to wait. But let me know what you thought, or let me know who you think Michael Emerson. I keep on saying that Cayden James' son is. But away from the speculation, back to the review, I thought the action in this episode was a little off. Oliver didn't actually get to fight anyone. He went straight to Michael Emerson at the end. But the rest of the fighting with Team Arrow versus the police and Team Arrow versus those guys before, it was just a little off. Sometimes the police would just turn around. They wouldn't shoot their gun. They would just turn around, waiting for Team Arrow to beat them up, it looked weird, not gonna lie. The fighting was a little off in this episode. I really liked how Curtis in this episode actually called Felicity out on her hypocrisy and how she somehow finds a way to be offended at everything. Like, he literally said, "You don't get to be offended by this," and he also did something because Felicity did the same thing, and then Felicity actually complained about Curtis doing that. It was a really, really dope seeing somebody on Team Arrow actually calling Felicity out on her hypocrisy, and Felicity honestly wasn't that bad in this episode. She was in the background, she was fine, but sometimes when she's in the forefront, she gets on my nerves, and Curtis knows why. Thea is back, and she came out of the coma. The reason she was in a coma, first of all, like, in continuity, the reason was because she was blown up by bombs, and somehow it didn't kill her. She was just put into a coma. But really, the reason she's in a coma is because Willa Holland, the actress, isn't a main character anymore. She's a recurring character, I believe. I'm pretty sure about that. All I know is that her episode count is lower, so she's not contracted to be in all 23 episodes. So they just put her in a coma so that she doesn't need to be in episode 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So I think she probably will be in every single episode from now on. Honestly, I didn't miss her. The season was boring so far, but it wasn't because Thea wasn't there. It was because Diggle was Green Arrow and not Oliver. So I didn't miss her. But honestly, I don't have an opinion on this. I just thought I had to mention it in the review because if I didn't, somebody in the comments would tell me that how did I not talk about this? But I really don't have an opinion other than the fact that I think that Thea was actually an unnecessary character in Season 5. She should have been killed off in the island explosion. Because she was unnecessary and because they didn't kill anybody off, she should have been killed off, but she wasn't. She was just in a coma. So I guess I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. I just think she's a little bit unnecessary at the moment, and she has been ever since Season 4 ended. In conclusion, I thought this episode was okay. It was really nice seeing Oliver back as the Green Arrow, but they didn't actually give him any fight scenes, so that was disappointing, and they made it sound like it was temporary, that Diggle would be back as the Green Arrow within no time, which is also stupid and disappointing, and it makes no sense. But this episode was pretty story-driven. I like that. But then again, Oliver being arrested for the 4th time is a little overdone. Not even a little bit. It's really overdone. But then again, I keep on saying then again, it was handled pretty well in this episode. I give this episode a 8.5 out of 10. So let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.